The metal door slid open with a quiet hiss. Hyun stepped into the detention cell first, followed closely by Ji-won. The room was cold and sterile, lit by harsh white lights that made everything look pale and lifeless. In the center sat Commander Thalrix, his massive frame hunched over a simple metal table. His scales, once a brilliant purple that marked him as Vektari nobility, now looked dull and faded. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Proxima 7. 3 months since humanity had shattered the Vektari fleet into scattered debris. 3 months since this commander, who had conquered 17 worlds without a single defeat, had been forced to surrender. Hyun pulled out a chair and sat down across from Thalrix. He placed a datapad on the table between them but did not activate it yet. Ji-won remained standing near the door, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "Commander Thalrix," Hyun began, his voice calm and professional. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with us." The alien commander did not look up. His 4 eyes remained fixed on the table surface. When he finally spoke, his voice came out rough, as if he had not used it in days. "I did not agree. Your people gave me no choice." "That's not entirely true," Ji-won said from her position by the door. "You could have remained silent. Many of your officers have." Thalrix's head lifted slightly. 2 of his eyes focused on Ji-won while the other 2 stayed on Hyun. It was unsettling, that divided attention, but both humans had grown used to it. "Those officers still have hope," he said. "They believe rescue will come. They believe the Empire will negotiate their release. They are fools." "And you're not a fool?" Hyun asked. "Not anymore." Thalrix shifted in his seat. The restraints around his wrists clinked softly against the table edge. "I have seen what your species is capable of. I have watched you dismantle an empire that stood for 6,000 cycles. Your diplomats are already speaking with what remains of our government. There will be no rescue, no negotiation, only surrender and tribunal." Hyun nodded slowly. "The Galactic Coalition has requested your testimony. They want to understand what happened, how the Vektari offensive collapsed so completely." "They want to know how you did it," Thalrix corrected. "They want to know what makes humans different from every other species in the galaxy." "Is that what you believe? That we're different?" For the first time, something like emotion crossed the commander's face. His mandibles twitched and a low sound came from deep in his throat. It might have been a laugh. "Different? You are terrifying. Your people smile and speak of peace while carrying the capacity to end civilizations. You negotiate treaties while building weapons that could crack planets. You are the most dangerous thing I have ever encountered. And the worst part is that you do not even see it." Ji-won stepped forward. "Commander, we didn't bring you here for insults. We need facts. We need you to explain, clearly and completely, what happened during the war. The Coalition needs to understand." "Understand?" Thalrix's voice rose slightly. "They want to understand how 17 victories became total defeat. How the most powerful offensive fleet in Vektari history was reduced to scrap and survivors in less than 4 months. Very well, I will tell them. But not because you demand it. I will tell them because the galaxy needs to know what happens when you provoke humanity." Hyun activated the datapad. A small holographic display flickered to life above it, ready to record. "Start from the beginning. Why did the Vektari Empire target humanity?" Thalrix settled back in his chair. His eyes grew distant, as if looking at something far away. "We watched you for 2 cycles before we attacked. Our intelligence division studied your conflicts, your history, your psychology. We saw a species that valued diplomacy. You had rules for warfare, conventions about protecting civilians, limitations on weapons, proportional responses to aggression. We saw all of this and we interpreted it as weakness. You weren't the first to make that mistake," Ji-won said quietly. "No," Thalrix agreed, "but we will be the last. After what happened, no species will underestimate humanity again." He paused, his breathing heavy. "The Vektari way of war is simple. We strike hard and fast at civilian centers. We break the enemy's will to fight before their military can fully mobilize. In 6,000 cycles, this doctrine brought us victory against 47 different species. 47 worlds that now serve the Empire. It was efficient. It was effective. It was proven. Until it wasn't," Hyun said. "Until we met you." Thalrix's mandibles clicked together. "We chose our target carefully. Kepler 442, you called it. A mining colony on the edge of your space. 8,000 humans. Minimal military presence. Perfect for a demonstration of power. We would crush this colony, Broadcast the footage across your networks and wait for your government to negotiate. That was the plan. What happened? Hyun asked, though he already knew. Everyone in human space knew. Kepler 442 had become a name that needed no explanation. We destroyed it completely, Thalric said, his voice flat. Our ships appeared in orbit without warning. We targeted the habitation domes first, then the mining facilities, then the orbital stations. We left nothing intact. 8,000 humans died in less than 3 hours. We broadcast the attack as planned. Then we waited for your response. The room fell silent. Hyun and Ji-won both remembered that day. The emergency broadcasts, the moments of shocked silence across every human world, the grief that turned to something harder, colder. We expected panic, Thalrix continued. We expected your leaders to contact us, to beg for mercy, to negotiate. Instead, you went silent. For 72 hours, humanity said nothing. Your communication networks went quiet. Your diplomatic channels closed. We thought perhaps we had broken you with a single strike. We thought victory was already won. But, Ji-won prompted. But then we noticed something our sensors had missed in those first hours. Every human military vessel within 4 sectors had changed course. Not toward our fleet, toward our supply lines, toward our forward bases, toward our homeworld routes. Hundreds of ships, all moving with perfect coordination and not a single transmission between them. It was as if your entire species had made a decision simultaneously, without words. Hyun leaned forward slightly. We did make a decision. You attacked civilians. You killed families. You broadcast it like entertainment. At that moment, every rule we follow, every restraint we maintain, every diplomatic courtesy we extend, all of it became optional. I did not understand that then, Thalric said. I thought the movement was a bluff, a show of force before negotiations. I even laughed about it with my sub-commander. We had destroyed one colony, and you were sending your entire fleet in response. It seemed like desperation, like the action of a weak species trying to look strong. When did you realize your mistake? Ji-won asked. Thalrix looked at her directly. All 4 eyes focused on her face. When your Captain Minho appeared on our command channel. His face was calm. His voice was steady. He said only one sentence before cutting the transmission. What did he say? He said, "You wanted to see what we're capable of. Now we'll show you." Thalrix's voice dropped to barely a whisper. That was when I knew. That was when I understood that we had not attacked a weak species. We had awakened something that your civilization exists to keep restrained. And we were going to pay for that mistake. The recording light on the datapad glowed steadily. Hyun glanced at Ji-won, then back at the commander. The Galactic Coalition needs to hear everything. They need to understand what happened next. What happened next, Thalric said slowly, was that I watched humanity wage war the way it was meant to be waged. Not with honor, not with restraint, but with the full weight of a species that has been perfecting the art of destruction for 10,000 years. And it was the most terrible thing I have ever witnessed. Outside the detention cell, the ship hummed with quiet activity. But inside that room, 3 beings sat in silence, preparing to recount the story of how humanity had shown the galaxy exactly what it was capable of when all other options were removed. Thalrix closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, he was no longer in the detention cell. In his mind, he stood once more in the command center of his flagship, 6 months before everything fell apart. The strategic room had been impressive then, filled with holographic displays showing star systems, fleet positions, and intelligence reports. His sub-commander Vrax had stood beside him, reviewing the final preparations for what they had called Operation Swift Judgment. Commander, the intelligence reports are complete, Vrax had said, gesturing to a display showing human military movements. We have analyzed 300 years of human conflict data. The patterns are clear. Thalrix remembered studying those reports with satisfaction. Humans fought with rules. They had something called the Geneva Conventions, agreements about how war should be conducted. They distinguished between military and civilian targets. They used proportional force. They tried diplomacy first, second, and third before resorting to violence. They are predictable, Vrax had continued. Every conflict follows the same pattern. Attack, counterattack, negotiation. They never strike first at civilian centers. They always offer terms. They are constrained by morality. And that constraint makes them weak, Thalrix had agreed. He remembered feeling confident, certain of victory. The Vektari had no such constraints. Var was var. Victory was all that mattered. In the detention cell, Hyun's voice brought him back to the present. You thought our rules made us weak. Yes, Thalrix admitted. We had conquered species that fought with honor. We had crushed civilizations that valued courage in battle. Your rules seemed like just another form of weakness to exploit. We did not understand that rules and capability are not the same thing. Jiwan moved closer to the table. Tell us about Kepler 442. Walk us through your thinking. Thalrix nodded slowly. We selected it carefully. A mining colony far from your core worlds. The population was small enough to destroy quickly but large enough to send a message. It had minimal defenses, just a single orbital platform with light weapons. Our intelligence showed that the colony administrator was a civilian named Bowman, not a military governor. Everything about the target suggested an easy victory. There was an engineer there, Hyun said quietly. Suji was her name. She sent a message during the attack. Just 3 words before the communications went down. What were the words? Remember us, remember. Thalrix's mandibles trembled. We did not think about names. We did not think about messages. We thought only of the objective. Break their will. Force surrender. Move to the next target. How did the attack proceed? Jiwan asked. Perfectly from a tactical perspective. Thalrix's voice was hollow. We jumped into the system with 15 warships. The orbital platform tried to hail us. We destroyed it immediately. Then we began bombardment of the surface habitats. The colony had 3 main domes housing the civilian population. We targeted those first. He paused, and something in his expression changed. Regret, perhaps, or the memory of what came after. The humans tried to evacuate. We saw the transport ships launching, carrying families, children, the elderly. We destroyed those too. Our orders were clear: total elimination. Leave no survivors to complicate the message. We were thorough. We were efficient. In 3 hours, Kepler 442 ceased to exist as a functioning colony. And then you broadcast it, Hyun said. Yes. We sent the footage across all human communication networks. We wanted every human world to see what happened when they opposed the Vectari Empire. We wanted fear. We wanted panic. We wanted your leaders to understand that resistance was futile. What did you expect to happen next? Jiwan asked. Thalrix shifted in his restraints. Based on our analysis of human behavior, we expected diplomatic contact within hours. Your United Human Space Federation would see the footage, convene emergency sessions, debate their response, and ultimately reach out to negotiate. We had demands prepared: territory concessions, resource rights, military access to your space lanes. We believed you would agree to most of it to prevent further attacks. But we didn't contact you, Hyun said. No. You went silent, completely silent. At first, we thought it was shock. Then we thought it was strategy, making us wait to show strength. By the 2nd day, I began to feel uneasy. By the 3rd day, I ordered our scouts to check on human fleet movements. What did they find? Everything had changed. Every single human military vessel that could move was moving. Not toward our fleet, not toward defensive positions around your worlds. They were moving toward our supply routes, our bases, our territory. Hundreds of ships and not one transmission between them. It was coordinated but silent, like watching a massive predator move without sound. Jiwan tilted her head. You still didn't understand what was happening. I thought it was a bluff, Thalrix admitted. I told Vrax that humans were trying to intimidate us. I said they would position their fleets, make a show of force, and then begin negotiations from what they thought was a stronger position. I actually laughed. I remember laughing and saying that humans were predictable even in their attempts to be unpredictable. When did the laughter stop? Hyun asked, when Captain Minho made contact. It was the 73rd hour after the attack on Kepler 442. Our command center received a transmission on emergency frequencies. No hail, no introduction, just a human face on our screens. Thalrix could still see that face clearly in his memory. Captain Minho had looked tired. His uniform was crisp, but his eyes held something that the Vectari commander had not recognized at the time. Now he knew it was the look of someone who had been given permission to do something terrible. He spoke one sentence. You wanted to see what we're capable of. Now we'll show you. Then he cut the transmission. No threats. No demands. No negotiation. Just that one statement and then silence again. And that's when you realized, Jiwan said. That's when I suspected. Thalrix corrected. I still did not fully grasp what was about to happen. I ordered the fleet to defensive formation. I called for our supply ships to return to protected space. I sent messages to High Command requesting reinforcements. I did everything according to proper military doctrine. It didn't matter, Hyun stated. Nothing mattered. Your humans did not follow military doctrine, at least not any doctrine we understood. Within 6 hours of Minho's transmission, 3 of our supply convoys simply vanished. Not destroyed in battle, just gone. We found debris fields later, but at the time they just disappeared from our sensors. You expected a fight, Ji-won said. You expected us to meet your fleet with our fleet. Battle lines, honor, rules. Yes. Instead, your ships avoided direct confrontation entirely. You went after logistics, infrastructure, supply chains. You attacked our forward operating base not with ships but with asteroids accelerated to relativistic speeds. We never even saw your fleet. Just rocks moving at a fraction of light speed, and then our base was gone. Thalrix's voice grew quieter as he continued. I tried to regroup. I pulled the fleet back to a fortified position around our primary resupply station. We had good defensive positions, heavy weapons platforms, minefields, everything we needed to make you pay dearly for an attack. We didn't attack, Hyun said. No, you went around, while we sat there prepared for a battle that never came. Your ships bypassed our position entirely and struck at the next 3 stations in the supply network. When we tried to move to intercept, we found that you had mined the hyperspace lanes. 12 of our dreadnoughts jumped to their deaths in antimatter explosions. Ji-won leaned against the wall. You tried to retreat. We had no choice. The offensive was collapsing. Our supply lines were cut. Our bases were destroyed or cut off. High Command ordered a fighting withdrawal to core territory. We thought we could at least preserve the fleet, regroup and establish a defensive perimeter. But you couldn't, Hyun said. Your Admiral Yuna was waiting for us. Her fleet had positioned itself perfectly along our only viable retreat route. We had to fight or surrender. We chose to fight. Thalrix's eyes closed. It was a slaughter. Your ships moved like nothing we had ever seen. Coordinated attacks from multiple vectors, weapons we had not known you possessed, and the worst part, the part that broke our morale completely, was that your ships were not even trying to capture territory. We were sending a message, Ji-won said softly. The same kind you sent at Kepler 442. Yes. Every position we abandoned, you glassed from orbit. Every station we evacuated, you destroyed so thoroughly that it could never be used again. You were not fighting to conquer. You were fighting to punish, to make an example. To show the entire galaxy what happens when someone attacks human civilians. The room fell silent again. Hyun and Ji-won exchanged glances. They knew this story, but hearing it from the other side made it somehow more real, more immediate. Finally, Hyun spoke. You were defeated in 4 months. 17 worlds conquered in your career, and humanity dismantled your fleet in 4 months. Less than that, Thalrix said. The first month was the collapse of our offensive. The second month was the retreat. The third month was scattered battles as we tried to form defensive positions. By the 4th month, I was negotiating surrender to prevent the complete annihilation of what remained of our fleet. Did you understand by then? What made humans different? The holographic display between them shifted to show a star map. Hyun had pulled up the tactical records from the war. Red markers showed Vectari positions. Blue markers showed human fleet movements. As Thalrix watched, the blue markers seemed to flow across the map like water, finding every gap, exploiting every weakness. Tell us about the battles, Hyun said. Specifically, tell us about your encounters with Captain Minho and Admiral Yuna. Thalrix stared at the display. Even now, watching the recorded movements of those fleets made his blood run cold. They were different from each other. That was part of what made fighting humanity so difficult. We expected one doctrine, one strategy, one way of thinking. Instead, every human commander fought differently. Start with Minho, Ji-won suggested. Captain Minho commanded a strike group of 30 vessels, light cruisers, destroyers, and what you call corvettes, fast ships. His mission seemed to be disruption rather than direct combat. For 3 weeks, his group harassed our supply convoys. He would appear, strike, and vanish before we could respond. We lost 47 supply ships to his attacks. Thalrix gestured at the display, and the hologram zoomed in to show one particular system. We finally managed to trap him here in the Talus system. We had 3 heavy cruisers and supporting vessels. He had his 30 ships. We outnumbered him in firepower significantly. I thought we would finally eliminate this persistent threat. What happened? He did not fight the way we expected. When we entered the system, his ships were scattered across the entire region. Not in formation, not in any tactical arrangement we recognized, just spread out seemingly at random. We thought it was panic that we had caught him unprepared. We moved to engage his nearest group. Thalrix paused, remembering the confusion in his command center. Then everything happened at once. The scattered ships were not random at all. They were positioned precisely to create overlapping fields of fire from every direction. When we engaged one group, we exposed ourselves to 3 others. And Minho had hidden weapons platforms in the asteroid field. Simple, crude things. Just missiles and targeting systems. But effective. You lost 2 of your 3 cruisers, Hyun stated. Yes, and the 3rd was badly damaged. Minho's transmission after the battle was brief. He said, "This is for Kepler. 2,700 more to go." Then he left. He did not pursue. He did not capture. He just destroyed our ability to fight and moved on. Ji-won nodded. 2,700. The number of people who were in the transport ships you destroyed during the evacuation. I did not understand that at the time. I thought it was just a human way of counting ships or some other military metric. Later I learned he was keeping score. Every Vektari combatant killed was a number toward that total. It was personal for him. And Admiral Yuna? Hyun asked. Thalrix's mandibles clicked nervously. Yuna was different. Where Minho was quick and aggressive, Yuna was methodical and thorough. She commanded the 2nd Fleet, 78 capital ships and twice that many support vessels. Her approach to warfare was like watching a glacier move, slow, inevitable, crushing everything in its path. The display shifted again, showing a larger operational area. She did not chase us. She did not rush to engage. Instead, she moved through our territory systematically, claiming one system at a time. But she did not occupy them. Explain that, Ji-won said. Occupation requires resources. You must garrison troops, establish supply lines, maintain control. Yuna did none of that. When her fleet entered a system we had controlled, she would first broadcast a warning. All Vektari military personnel had 6 hours to evacuate. Civilians were protected and allowed to leave safely, but after those 6 hours, anything that remained was considered a legitimate target. And then she would glass every military installation from orbit. Completely, thoroughly. I watched the recordings. She used orbital bombardment to turn our bases into craters. She destroyed space stations with focused fire until nothing larger than debris remained. She did not leave anything that could be repaired or reclaimed. She was not conquering. She was erasing. Thalrix's voice grew quieter. I tried to set a trap for her. We abandoned a forward base but left it fully operational. Weapon systems online, shields active, automated defenses ready. We hoped she would move in close to destroy it and we could catch her fleet in crossfire from hidden positions. She saw through it, Hyun said. She did not even try to approach. She had her fleet push asteroids into the system. Dozens of them. Big enough to carry momentum, small enough to accelerate to useful speeds. She bombarded our base with rocks until the shields failed, then kept bombarding until the base was buried under rubble. She never brought her ships into range of our hidden forces. She just dropped rocks on us from a distance and waited. Ji-won pulled up another file on her datapad. Her report from that engagement says the tactic was inspired by human history. Something called a trebuchet. I do not know that word, Thalrix said. An ancient siege weapon. Humans were throwing rocks at each other's fortifications thousands of years before we reached space. Yuna just scaled it up. Thalrix made a sound that might have been a bitter laugh. That is what I mean about humans. You do not just have one way of fighting. You have thousands, millions. Every time we thought we understood your tactics, you would do something completely different. Something drawn from some ancient war on your homeworld or some new innovation created just for that specific battle. Tell them about the ground forces, Hyun said. Tell them about Commander Do-hyun. The Vektari commander's scales seemed to darken. The Marines. Yes, we had assumed human ground forces would be similar to your space forces. Organized, professional, bound by rules of engagement. We were partially correct. They were organized and professional. For the rules, he stopped, searching for words. I was present at the battle for Landing Site Gamma. It was a Vektari forward operating base on a contested world. We had 2,000 soldiers dug into fortified positions. Commander Do-hyun arrived with 500 Marines. We outnumbered him 4-1. We had superior defensive positions. All tactical analysis suggested we would repel the attack easily. What happened? He did not attack our positions directly. For 3 days, his Marines did nothing but patrol the perimeter. We thought they were scouting, preparing for an assault. We reinforced our defenses. We prepared for the attack. On the 4th day, Do-hyun sent a message to our commander. What did it say? It said, "You have 24 hours to evacuate all personnel from this base. After that, anyone remaining will be considered an active combatant. Civilians in the nearby settlement are under human protection and will not be harmed. Your choice." Talrix's 4 eyes closed briefly. Our commander refused, of course. It would have been disgraceful to abandon a fortified position to such a small force. So we waited. 24 hours passed. Then the attack began. "Describe it," Ji-won said. It was not like any ground battle I had witnessed. The Marines did not charge our positions. They did not try to overwhelm us with numbers. Instead, they used precision. Every shot from their weapons hit a target. Every movement was calculated. They used the terrain like they had been born in it, even though they had only been on that world for 3 days. Talrix opened his eyes again. They cut off our communications first, then our power generation, then our water supply. They did not try to kill us. They were making the base unlivable. When our soldiers ventured out to restore these systems, the Marines would be waiting, not to engage in firefights, just to pick them off 1 or 2 at a time and disappear. Psychological warfare, Hyun noted. Yes. After 2 days, our soldiers were exhausted, thirsty, and terrified. They knew the Marines were out there. They could hear them moving at night, see evidence of their presence, but they could never catch them, never pin them down, never fight them directly. And then Do-hyun gave our commander another choice: surrender now, and all personnel would be treated according to the laws of war. Refuse and he would use heavier measures. Our commander refused again. He said Vektari warriors do not surrender to inferior numbers. Talrix's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Do-hyun brought in artillery. He shelled our positions for 6 hours straight. Precise strikes on every defensive emplacement, every weapons platform, every fortified bunker. When the shelling stopped, he sent in his Marines. The battle lasted 40 minutes. Our soldiers, already exhausted and demoralized, broke and tried to retreat. The Marines did not pursue. They secured the base, provided medical care to our wounded, and sent our survivors to prisoner camps. And the civilians in the settlement? Ji-won asked, untouched. Not a single one harmed. Do-hyun had stationed guards around their homes before the attack even began. His soldiers protected them while simultaneously destroying our base. That precision, that ability to use overwhelming violence against combatants while protecting civilians, that was something we had never encountered before. Hyun leaned back in his chair. The coalition needs to understand this. They need to know that humanity doesn't have one approach to warfare. We adapt, we improvise. We draw on thousands of years of military history and combine it with new innovation. The door to the detention cell opened again. This time, 2 new humans entered along with Hyun and Ji-won. Talrix watched them carefully. One was a woman with gray hair and kind eyes carrying several datapads. The other was younger, a man with glasses who looked more like a scholar than a soldier. "Commander Talrix," Hyun said. "These are Dr. Seonho and Dr. Jisoo. Seonho specializes in xenopsychology. Jisoo is a historian. They're here to help explain some things that you may not understand about human behavior." Talrix shifted in his restraints. "I have asked myself many questions since my capture. Why do humans fight the way they do? Why can they be so peaceful one moment and so destructive the next? Perhaps your scholars can provide answers." Seonho settled into a chair across from the commander. His manner was calm, professional, without judgment. "Commander, may I ask you some questions about Vektari evolution?" "I suppose. How did your species reach the top of your world's food chain?" Talrix tilted his head, confused by the question. "We were apex predators. Our ancestors hunted in packs. We had natural weapons, speed, and intelligence. We had no natural predators by the time we developed sentience. How many generations did it take for your species to dominate your homeworld? 3, perhaps 4 generations once we developed tools and organization." Seonho nodded and made a note on his datapad. "And how long has your species been spacefaring?" 6,000 cycles. Our empire has spread across this entire sector. That's approximately 4,000 Earth years, Seonho said. "Now let me tell you about humans. We were not apex predators. We were prey animals for most of our evolution. We had no natural weapons, no claws, no fangs, no venom. We were slower than most predators, weaker. We survived through different means. What means? Thalrix asked, genuinely curious now. Persistence, intelligence, cooperation, and violence when necessary. Siano pulled up a holographic image of an early human. Our ancestors developed a hunting technique called persistence hunting. We would chase prey for hours, sometimes days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. We could not run faster than our prey, but we could run longer. We did not give up. We did not stop. That trait is embedded deep in our psychology. Jisoo leaned forward. Commander, how many wars has your species fought? Wars? Major conflicts between Vectari factions? Thalrix considered. Perhaps 20 or 30 in our recorded history, most before we unified under the Empire. Humans have fought thousands of wars, Jisoo said quietly. On our homeworld alone, before we ever reached space, we fought constantly. Every continent, every culture, every era, we have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. Maybe longer. We have records of battles from when we were still using stone weapons. Thalrix felt something cold settle in his chest. 10,000 years of warfare, at least. And we documented it. We studied it. We wrote books about strategy, tactics, philosophy of war. We analyzed every battle, learned from every defeat, improved after every victory. By the time we reached space, we had accumulated more knowledge about warfare than most species learn in their entire existence. Siano brought up more images on the holographic display. Let me show you human history. These are from what we call the World Wars. 2 massive conflicts that involved nearly every nation on Earth. 50 million dead in the first war. Over 70 million in the second. We invented weapons so terrible that we almost destroyed ourselves. The images shifted, showing mushroom clouds, devastated cities, rows of graves stretching to the horizon. Thalrix stared at them in silence. We created nuclear weapons, Jisoo continued. Devices that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We made chemical weapons that could kill thousands with a single deployment. Biological weapons that could spread disease across continents. We developed all of these, used some of them, and then made rules never to use them again. Why? Thalrix asked. If you had such weapons, why not use them? Because we learned, Seonho said. We learned that some weapons are too terrible even for war. We learned that unlimited violence leads only to mutual destruction. So we created laws, conventions, rules of engagement, not because we could not break them, but because we knew exactly what would happen if we did. Jisoo pulled up another set of images. These are the Geneva Conventions. Rules about warfare. Protecting civilians. Treating prisoners humanely. Prohibiting certain weapons. Every human nation signed these agreements. We bound ourselves to these rules deliberately. But you broke them when you fought us, Thalrix said. No, Hyun interjected. We followed them precisely where they applied. We protected civilians. We treated your prisoners well. You're sitting in a clean cell, fed, watered, receiving medical care. What we stopped doing was limiting our military response. The conventions don't say we can't destroy military targets. They don't say we can't wage total war against combatants. They just say we can't target civilians doing it. Thalrix absorbed this information slowly. So when I attacked Kepler 442 and killed those 8,000 civilians, I did not just attack a colony. I violated rules that humanity considers sacred. Yes, Siano said. But it's more than that. Let me explain human psychology. We are social creatures. We form intense bonds with our groups, family, friends, communities, nations. An attack on any member of our group feels like an attack on all of us. All species have group loyalty, Thalrix objected. Not like humans. Commander, how many of the 8,000 people on Kepler 442 did you think other humans knew personally? I do not know. Perhaps a few thousand had families elsewhere? Try 3 billion, Jisoo said. In the age of instant communication and space travel, humans are connected in ways that seem impossible to other species. Someone on Kepler 442 was someone's daughter, someone's father, someone's friend, someone's former coworker, someone's childhood friend. The network of connections extended to 3 billion people who knew someone who died there. Thalrix felt his mandibles go slack. 3 billion? You did not attack a distant colony, Siano explained. You attacked a family, and humans defend their family with everything they have. That's why your attack did not break our will. It united us. Every human in space, regardless of politics or planet or belief, agreed on one thing. You needed to be stopped. We miscalculated badly, Thalrix whispered. Yes, you did. And that's because you did not understand what human civilization really is. Jisoo brought up images of cities, space stations, peaceful settlements. You saw our civilization and thought it was weakness. You saw our rules and thought we were constrained. But Commander, human civilization is not a weakness. It is our greatest weapon. I do not understand. Our civilization exists to control our capacity for violence. We built laws, ethics, diplomacy, all of it, to create a framework where we did not have to use our worst capabilities. Every human knows what we're capable of. We teach our history. We remember our wars. We study our mistakes. Our civilization is what we built to make sure we never have to repeat those mistakes. Siano added, when you attacked Kepler 442, you did not just kill 8,000 people. You broke the framework. You showed us that diplomatic solutions had failed, that laws did not protect us, that our choice to restrain ourselves was being exploited. So we made a different choice. You chose to show us what happens when humanity stops restraining itself, Thalric said. Exactly. And even then, we did not use our worst weapons. We did not target Vectari civilians. We did not deploy planet killers or biological weapons. We waged total war against your military while still following most of our rules. That restraint, even in retaliation, that is what makes humanity dangerous. Jisoo pulled up statistics and reports. Let me give you some context. Humans maintain weapons platforms capable of cracking planets. We have biological agents that could sterilize worlds. We have antimatter warheads in storage that could destroy entire star systems. We have all of this, and we have not used any of it in 300 years. 300 years? Thalrix repeated. You have these weapons and do not use them? We keep them as deterrents, as last resorts, as reminders of what we could do but choose not to. Every human officer is trained in the ethics of warfare. We study philosophy alongside tactics. We learn about proportionality, necessity, and responsibility. We are warriors, yes, but we are also scholars of war who understand its consequences. Seonho leaned back. Commander, you asked earlier why humans can be peaceful one moment and destructive the next. The answer is that we are always capable of both. The violence is always there, always ready, always understood. But we choose peace. Every day. Every hour. We wake up and choose not to be the worst versions of ourselves. That choice is more difficult than you can imagine, and it is the choice that defines humanity. Thalric sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, he spoke, his voice subdued. I understand now why we lost. We fought humans. You fought as humans. We tried to break your will with one attack. You responded with the accumulated knowledge of 10,000 years of warfare. We thought rules made you weak. You showed us that choosing to follow rules while having the capacity to break them is true strength. The crashed ship's emergency hatch opened with a hiss. Silgi peered inside, her weapon ready. Hello, we are the rescue team. Human rescue team. We are here to take you home. 17 alien faces stared back at her. They were all different species, but they all shared the same expression. Absolute terror. They had been trapped for 2 days, listening to the predators circling outside, waiting to die. One of them, a crystalline being like Counselor Vrath, spoke in a trembling voice. You came into the killing ground for us? Of course, Sulgi said simply. Now let us get you out of here. But the aliens would not move. They huddled together in the back of the shelter, too frightened to step outside. Their evolutionary instincts were screaming at them to hide from the predators they could hear in the forest. Minji entered the shelter, her medical kit ready. Are any of you injured? A small furry alien raised a tentative paw. My leg is broken. I fell during the crash. I can treat that, Minji said gently. She began setting up her equipment. While she worked, Hyunwoo entered the shelter. I know you are scared, he said, his voice calm and reassuring. But we need to move quickly. The predators are gathering and more will come after dark. We have a shuttle waiting 2 kilometers from here. It will be a difficult walk, but we will protect you. The Deathbringers are out there, the crystalline alien said. We have heard them. They sound like demons. They are not demons, Hyunwoo explained. They are animals. Intelligent animals, but still animals. They follow patterns we understand. They can be deterred, avoided, or if necessary, stopped. You must trust us. Outside, Jisoo and Taejin maintained their perimeter. The predators were getting bolder as darkness fell. The pack had grown to 15 members, and they were communicating through their bioluminescent patterns. Flashes of blue light in the forest passing information through the pack. They are planning something, Jisoo said, coordinating for a group attack. Taijin studied their patterns. The Alpha is that big one at 3 o'clock. See how the others defer to it? If we can challenge the Alpha, show dominance, the pack might back down. Or they might attack in force, Jisoo countered. Then we show them what happens when you attack humans. The Alpha Predator emerged from the tree line. It was massive, easily 100 kilograms with scars across its face from previous battles. This was an experienced hunter, a creature that had killed many times. It approached slowly, testing the human's resolve. Taijin stood up and walked toward it. Jisoo nearly called him back but stopped herself. She knew what he was doing. This was the moment that would determine everything. Taijin walked to within 20 meters of the Alpha and stopped. He stood tall, shoulders back, meeting the creature's gaze directly. Then he did something that made Jisoo's heart skip. He roared, a deep, loud, aggressive roar that echoed through the forest. The Alpha froze. This was not behavior it expected from prey. Prey ran, prey hid. Prey made sounds of fear. This creature was challenging it directly. Taijin raised his rifle and fired a warning shot over the Alpha's head. The sound cracked through the clearing. The Alpha flinched, then took a step back. Taijin advanced, still maintaining eye contact, still projecting absolute confidence and dominance. The Alpha's bioluminescent patterns changed. It was signaling to its pack, but not to attack. To retreat. The massive predator turned and moved back into the tree line. The rest of the pack followed. Taijin returned to the perimeter. Jisoo stared at him. That was either the bravest or the stupidest thing I have ever seen. It worked, Taijin said with a slight smile. The pack will not challenge us again tonight. They know we are the dominant predators here. Inside the shelter, Hyunwoo received the update through his earpiece. Good news. The pack has retreated. We have a window to move. Everyone listen carefully. We will walk in a tight group. Stay close to the humans. Do not run. Do not make sudden movements. We will get you home. The evacuation began. Minji helped the injured aliens. Seolgi led the group, choosing the safest path. Hyunwoo and Jisoo walked on the flanks, weapons ready. Taijin took the rear guard, watching for pursuit. The aliens moved slowly, their fear making them clumsy. Every sound from the forest made them flinch. But the humans remained calm, and gradually that calm spread to their charges. If the humans were not afraid, perhaps there was hope. They were halfway to the shuttle when the pack returned. This time they were not testing. They were hunting. Contact left. Jisoo called. A predator burst from the undergrowth, targeting the aliens at the center of the group. But Jisoo was already moving. She intercepted the creature, firing her rifle. The tranquilizer dart hit perfectly, and the predator tumbled mid-leap, unconscious before it hit the ground. More predators emerged. The pack had decided to risk an attack. They came from 3 directions at once, trying to overwhelm the humans through numbers and coordination. But humans had fought coordinated pack attacks for millennia. Taijin dropped 2 more predators with precise shots. Seolgi used a sonic deterrent, a device that emitted frequencies painful to animal hearing. The predators attacking from her direction veered away. Hyunwoo saw the Alpha making its move, circling to attack from behind. He turned to face it, his rifle ready. The Alpha was fast, incredibly fast, but Hyunwoo had anticipated its path. He fired not where the creature was, but where it would be. The tranquilizer dart caught the Alpha in the shoulder. The massive predator stumbled, fighting the sedative. It tried to continue its charge, but collapsed 10 meters from the group. The rest of the pack, seeing their Alpha fall, lost their coordination. They scattered back into the forest. Keep moving, Hyunwoo ordered. They will not attack again, but we should not wait around. The group reached the shuttle without further incident. The alien pilot watching through the shuttle's sensors had seen everything. Their eyes were wide with shock as the humans loaded the rescued aliens aboard. You fought them, the pilot said quietly. You fought Category Omega threats and won. We did what was necessary, Hyunwoo replied. Nothing more. The flight back to the council station was silent. The rescued aliens huddled together, processing what they had witnessed. The humans had walked into a nightmare scenario and treated it like routine fieldwork. The council chamber was crowded when they arrived. All 47 species had representatives present. The footage from the rescue operation had been broadcast live. Everyone had watched humans do the impossible. Counselor Vrath approached Hyunwoo as the team disembarked. The crystalline being's colors were complex, shifting through patterns that might indicate confusion, fear, respect, or all three. "You saved them all," Vrath said. "Not a single casualty. You walked into the forbidden zone and emerged victorious." "We did what humans do," Hyunwoo said. "We assessed the threat, formulated a strategy, and executed our plan. The predators on Karveth are dangerous, but they follow patterns. Once you understand those patterns, you can work with them or around them." Another counselor, the beetle alien, approached hesitantly. "We have spent centuries avoiding the forbidden spiral. We thought those planets were incompatible with civilized life. But you could live there. Could colonize those worlds." "We could," Daehyun confirmed. "But more importantly, we could teach you to live there too. The predators are not invincible. They are animals. They can be studied, understood, managed. Earth has entire branches of science dedicated to this." The council deliberated for 3 hours. The humans waited in the observation gallery, watching the debate. Some aliens were advocating for immediate full membership for humanity. Others were more cautious, concerned about what it meant to have apex predators as equals in the council. Finally, Vrath announced the decision. By unanimous vote, humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council with a special designation: Apex Guardian Species. Your role will be unique. You will explore, protect, and eventually open the forbidden spiral for colonization. You will teach other species how to coexist with dangerous fauna. You will be our shield against the threats we cannot face ourselves. Hyunwoo stood to respond. "We accept this responsibility, but we want to make something clear. We are not just warriors or hunters. Yes, we can fight predators. Yes, we understand survival in hostile environments. But we also understand that predators are part of ecosystems. They have value. They deserve respect and protection." Minji stepped forward. "I propose we establish a joint research program. Human biologists will work with council scientists to study the forbidden spiral planets. We will create wildlife preserves, sustainable management practices, and education programs. We will not conquer these worlds. We will learn to share them." The council agreed. Over the following months, the galaxy changed. Human teams began exploring the forbidden spiral. They established research stations on Karveth and other dangerous worlds. They taught aliens about predator behavior, ecology, and conservation. The creatures that the council had feared for centuries became subjects of study and wonder. Children from peaceful species learned about apex predators through safe observation programs. Scientists discovered the complex ecosystems that existed on the forbidden worlds.